Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 7:04 p.m. Welcome to tonight's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of Monday, July 6, 2026. Members of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the public may participate in the public hearing. All participants will be able to speak when called upon. At this time, I would like to explain the procedures to be followed during the meeting. The Commission has both a consent agenda and an agenda for consideration of individual items. Items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-contested. Item number 1, citizen comments, provides the opportunity for members of the public to address the Commission on items that are listed on the consent agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and the Secretary will let you know when 1 minute is left. For all plats and plans conditionally approved or disapproved by the Commission, the applicant was provided with a written statement of the conditions was provided a written statement of the conditions for the conditional approval or the reasons for disapproval. These conditions and reasons are not arbitrary. They are directly related to the requirements of Local Government Code, Chapter 212, and indicate citations to the law that is the basis for the conditional approval or disapproval. For items on the individual consideration list, I will call the applicant or his or her representative to present the case. The applicant will have up to 5 minutes to present the case, which includes all persons representing the application. Then those wishing to speak in favor and those wishing to speak in opposition will have 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes each to present his or her comments. The applicant will have an additional 5 minutes to answer questions or provide rebuttal if there is opposition. If there is a group with the same opinion, it is requested that a smaller number of speakers provide remarks on behalf of the group. Prior to speaking, please give your name and city of residence. Remember to speak directly into the microphone, as this hearing is recorded for public comment. Any handouts you wish to provide should be given to staff, preferably to Gina right there. You're also welcome to submit a letter in writing or by email if you prefer not to speak. Applicants are not required to stay for the duration of the entire meeting and may leave once their item has been heard. The next meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission will be Monday, August 3rd, 2026. Our first item on the agenda is citizen comments for the consent agenda. Claudia, has anyone signed up to speak on any item on the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, yes, there are. Madam Chair, no, we do not.
Thank you very much.
Please proceed.
Thank you. So the next items are on the consent agenda. Secretary Myrick, would you please read the consent agenda into the record?
Yes, I have 4 items. The first one is the approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes of Monday, June 1st, 2026. Number 2, 2026-150 PL Roberts at South Britton Road, replat, located at 416 South Britton Road. I also have 2025-43 PL Hardesty Revised Edition, located at 103 East Pioneer Drive. Lastly, 2025-273 PL Pearl Landing, located at 1101 West Royal Lane.
Thank you very much. We open to a motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion for approval of the consent agenda is passed 8-0. Secretary Myrick, on the conditional approval item?
Yep, for conditional approval, I have 2026-153 PL Delaware Phase 3, which is located at 500 West 6th Street.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And the conditional approval consent agenda is passed 8-0.
For disapproval, I have 3 items. 2026147 PL, Irving Heights addition, located at 1303 South Irving Heights Drive. 2026188-PL, Camano addition, minor plat, located at 2410 Camano Drive. Lastly, 2026-193 PL, Mustang Crossing Business Park, located at 4995 Rochelle Road.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries 8-0. We're now moving on to our individual items. Our first case this evening is 2025-224-ZC. And you're welcome, the applicant, Mr. Davis. This is your opportunity to give us a few remarks. We heard your case in work session, so if you have anything to add, please do so.
Yeah, I just wanted to answer the question about,
Can you be sure your mic is on and lean to it and give us your full name and city, please?
the lights on. Good, all right. Sorry, what was the second part?
Your full name and your city of residence.
Jacob Davis, and I live in Irving. There was a question about when I bought the property and if the structure had existed. It did exist and has been leaking and, molding, so the process that we're applying for is to just tear that down and put a new one up. That was all I wanted to answer. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Davis? Okay, thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this item? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to this item? I'll close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for discussion or a motion.
If there's no further discussion amongst the commissioners, I'd like to move zoning case 2025-224-ZC to City Council for approval.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And Mr. Davis, your case will be forwarded with a recommendation for approval. So you'll want to go to the July 30th meeting with City Council just to ensure they don't have any questions of you. You're welcome. Thank you, sir. The next item is Comprehensive Plan 2026-155-CP. It's Mr. Patel's case, and then we also have in conjunction to that 2026-120-ZC. Mr. Patel, would you like to offer any comments this evening? I know you were at work session.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. My name is Chan Patel. I've been a resident of City of Irving since 58 years. I attended the work session today and heard some of the concerns some of the members had, and I think the main concern was parking. So all I can say is 2 years ago, a site plan for the same lot was approved by P&Z and also by the city, which had only 1 car parking per unit, plus 10 car for guest parking. Now this plan has 2 cars per dwelling, plus 10 cars for guest parking. And we did all this according to what was presented to us as ordinance requirement. So in our opinion, we have satisfied the ordinance, and that's the only comment I have. The other concern was the traffic on Bingren. So I do agree that there is a traffic issue there. But in our case, the entrance to this development is right in front of Holland Street, which is way down the intersection of 183 and Wingren. Now, at the intersection, close to the intersection, there is an exit, but it's only for fire department. It will be used only for emergencies by the fire department. But otherwise, all entries and exits will be right in front of Holland Street, and the entire development will be fenced with solid wall. And we think that this development, when completed, will bring up the quality of neighborhood. That's our opinion. Thank you very much.
We have two people who have signed up to speak in the public session. Mr. Kidwell, would you like to offer any remarks? Or just express your support in favor of this? Mr. Watkins, if you're available, you would be next up.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, and staff, my name is Bear Kidwell. I live at 2612 Twin Post Court here in Irving, Texas. I'm on the Nichols Park Neighborhood Association Board. I handle communications for them. Mr. Patel was gracious enough to meet with us and discuss the project and the plan. We on the Nichols Park Neighborhood Association have watched this property for many years, and we've watched several different developments have ideas about rezoning the area. And the property, as of today, continues to be an eyesore. It's an extreme eyesore. It collects every bit of trash that's blown down the access road from 183. And our association goes down twice a month and picks all the trash up. 2 weeks later, it's all full of trash again. The retaining wall on the west side of the property is falling down. The trees are unkept. There is no landscaping. It's an eyesore for the whole neighborhood. We have fought off light industry, hazardous waste, warehousing, and we're extremely happy with this project. We think that it will benefit the neighborhood. This particular development has an HOA. It has gated security. It has landscaping. This will do nothing but improve our neighborhood. The consensus of our neighborhood association board is that it will be a great benefit to our neighborhood. Now, there is a lot of concern about the traffic. Anything that goes in there is going to create more traffic at this intersection because TxDOT did the worst job I've ever seen in my life of setting that up. If any of you guys have ever gone down there and looked at that, I cannot believe that someone hasn't been killed down there yet. I will say this. Every 2 weeks, we go down and pick up trash at that intersection, and the majority of the trash we pick up is auto parts. Now, where do the auto parts come from? I don't know, but they're all the way up into that green space. Front fascias, parts of fenders, trim and molding. So there are collisions at that intersection constantly. And I would please encourage city staff, traffic, to continue to contact TxDOT and try to work some solution out for this intersection. Because anything that goes in there, our neighbors are going to complain about the additional traffic that is there. And it's only there because of the poor design of the intersection itself. Today I I posted a notice to our neighbors, and I'd like to read that. While any development of this property will likely contribute to traffic in the area, individual board members who have reviewed the proposal believe it has the potential to provide a positive transition for the site and would be more compatible with the surrounding neighborhood than the previously discussed warehouses or light industry. So I would say the consensus of the majority of the Nichols Park Association, Neighborhood Association Board would be to approve this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a Mr. Watkins who signed up to speak in favor. Please come down, sir.
Hi, I should have gone first. He did a great job. Hi, my name is Robert Watkins. I live at 514 Forest Circle, Irving, in the Nichols Park development, which is very close to this proposal. And I wasn't for or against it. Our association is made up of volunteers who care about the community, and we're not a neighborhood association. I'm sorry, we're not a neighborhood HOA, but we're just neighbors who all care about each other and about the community. And like Bear said, we have several picnics throughout the year, and we have community involvement, and it's a volunteer board, so anybody locally in Nichols Park is welcome to join. Again, I wasn't for or against this particular development until Mr. Patel came to our board meeting and proposed his development. And, I became a fan of it. And like Mr. Kidwell said, that intersection has been hazardous, to say the least. With the freeway getting off there and people making that quick right and the other cars coming around there and going straight, it's a mess. The fact that there are single-family residences, and I'm not sure the exact count, I think 55 or something like that, but they're two-story townhomes with two-car garages. So, and it's a senior development, 55 plus. And he said a couple of things that kind of hit home, because he said, and this is Mr. Patel, he said, he's been an Irving resident for many years and been involved. He goes, he's donated money to Baylor Scott and his name is on there. And I go, I don't recall that. And I drove by it and sure enough, it's there, so. He also mentioned that it wasn't he's not doing it for a money opportunity. And as a realtor, I work with builders, and that's what they see. It's all about return on investment. But he's doing this to benefit the city and the community. It's also a tax base, for revenue for the residents, new residents there. He said it's gated parking. Entrance, rather. Again, I don't see it really being a traffic issue, because they're going to come out there and they're going to be home. And if you had a sign that said, hey, if you lived here, you'd already be home. You don't have to travel down Windgren or do anything to get there. So, I see it as a benefit and a beautification for that area. And hopefully it'll encourage other development, could be similar, but as long as it's not a commercial project that's going to bring, a lot of traffic at different hours, I'm in favor of the development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak here in favor of this project? Yes, sir, please come down and give your name and city of residence.
Good evening. My name is Arturo Herrera, and I live at 142 East Holland Drive. So I currently live straight across from this development. My house is that very first house when you enter that area, that neighborhood. As far as what he's wanting to build, Mr. Patel, I totally agree something has to be done, and we've never wanted any commercial in there because it brings a lot of traffic. Our concern is that the entrance into the location is through Windgren. If somehow it could be flipped where the entrance to that location is off of 183, off of the access road, that limits the number of traffic that's coming in, because the entrance is going to be right at the corner of Holland going into that location. So that's already backing up that traffic right there. We've lived there for over 20 years. And yes, we've seen traffic, we've seen junk. Every single day there's at least, or every single week there's at least one car that's stranded there, that's on that side. With the entrance being there, when that car is stranded there every day, that means it's going to back up more traffic. And yes, TxDOT did a horrible job, and that's the whole problem, is they closed off the exit for O'Connor, so everybody has to exit there to get into the neighborhood or go all the way past O'Connor. There is no other entrance into the neighborhood. That's where our concern is all that traffic going in through Wingren is going to cause more of an issue. As it is right now, it takes me sometimes 5 to 10 minutes just to get out of my driveway to get into the street because it backs up so much. With more traffic coming in, I can only see it getting worse. So again, the project sounds good. It's the entrance that's a concern for us because it's going through Wingren. You have to go in through Wingren to where if it was maybe where the entrance is, where the fire exit is, where you're going in through the highway, that would alleviate the problem a lot more, or try and figure out a different way to get in there, because if you're going to add more traffic going through Wingren until something gets fixed through that area, it's just going to back up more and more every single day. So again, for the project, I'm not a fan of the layout right now because it is going to increase more traffic. And it, not just for me, but for the neighborhood, because when there is an accident on the freeway, that's the exit they come off of, that's the exit that they go through. And it's just, instead of going straight, they're going through the neighborhood to try and get to different areas to get back on the highway. So it's just a backup right there. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Nathan, would you mind addressing the lack of opportunity to create an entrance or exit off of 183?
Due to the close proximity of the U-turn that goes basically adjacent to the BNSF rail line, you don't have enough room to go through and develop a driveway along 183. This property basically has frontage that has a striping on the road that you're not supposed to cross over, and in that area, TxDOT is not going to permit a driveway. So that's why the driveway locations are shown over on the Wingren side.
So I wish that could be different for the layout, but I think Mr. Patel's organized, an entrance that is the only viable entrance for the community. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the project? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to the project?
I'd like to ask her clarification.
Please come down and give your name and city of residence. I see.
My name's David Jones, and I live in Dallas, Texas, and I represent Dr. Kachajan, who owns the property directly to the east of Mr. Patel's property. We certainly are not in opposition to the development itself, but there were a couple of questions that we had in which I'm not sure if I should be addressing it now or when the zoning case comes in next, but I'll just generally tell you what my questions are. Number one, this is a plan amendment changing it to mid-density residential, which in other terms, that's multifamily, as I understand it. Is that correct? And is there a restriction in terms of the number of units with the new state laws that have been passed as to what the density can actually be for multifamily under this particular zoning classification?
There's zoning to RMF1, which is our lower density multifamily, but you're correct that the state law doesn't allow us to regulate density. They have proposed a concept plan, however, and that is what they're expected to follow.
But are they required to follow that
Per our zoning, they are, yes.
per state law?
Carolyn, you want me to defer to you on that? Yeah. Through our zoning process, they have to comply with this concept plan.
Okay, the only other question we had is, and it deals maybe with the actual zoning itself, is that Dr. Kachachin, who owns the property not only directly to the east, he also, if someone could pull up that concept plan, Exhibit C, that was just up there. The property where it says adjacent property on the southwest corner of Mr. Patel's project is actually owned by Dr. Kachachin. And there's actually, from the entrance of Mr. Patel's new development, there is an easement that allows for Dr. Kachachin's visitors and other users for his property to access the property via that easement to the adjacent property. And we wanted to make sure that that's going to be reflected on the site plan itself. There's also another issue as it relates to an easement, which has to do with where the transformers are on the eastern end of Dr. Patel's property. And that existing transformer, from what we can tell, sits right in the middle of some of his improvements. And that transformer services all of Dr. Kachachin's property to the east. So we're concerned about the access to those transformers and how we basically gain access to that. The third point, and then I'll shut up, is that the amenities that he's put on the very far eastern end of his property, which I think is a clubhouse, possibly some paddleball courts, and maybe a swimming pool, is not set back from the property line, from what we can tell, hardly at all. And it's directly adjacent to Dr. Kachachin's property. So we're not opposed to the project. We're just concerned about the easements not being reflected. And number two, the proper setbacks between his property and Dr. Kachachin's property. And I'll probably have something to say on the zoning as well. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
You're welcome to speak on the zoning now. We'll take it all at the same time.
The question is, it's my understanding in the past that the city, as well as a lot of the neighborhoods, have been opposed to multifamily at this location. And what I can tell, this is a significant deviation.
Sir, you have 1 minute.
Okay, that's a significant deviation, and that's fine with us. We just wanted to note that in fact it is multifamily, and from what we understand in terms of the state law is that there isn't any restriction on density. Thank you.
Mr. Patel, would you like to address the comment about access to, I'm going to say the name incorrectly, Mr. Kachachin's, to the transformers? Oh, thank you, sir.
No, he's correct that currently, according to the plans, there is some construction in place of where the transformer is now. But we are already working with, I think it's called Encore, to move the transformer to another area. And it's a long process, but we already started the work. So the transformer will be moved from there. And regarding the entrance from Windgrain, like the gentleman said, there are, TxDOT would not allow entrance from 183 Service Road. So the only option we have is Windgrain. And also, someday we have to build something there anyway, and anything you build is going to create traffic. And this residential will create the least traffic, in our opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Kajay, can you do a rebuttal? I know.
Can I speak?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Kachajian, and as Mr. Jones said, I own the property immediately to the east and the corner, which is 8,000 feet on the corner. I just want to, we're not opposed to the project, but it was stated that that first entrance off 183 is just for a fire exit. The city, there is a permanent entrance exit easement given to us on that 8,000-foot segment. So I just want to clarify, that will not just be, that road is not just an exit. We have free access to that 8,000-foot track. Thank you.
There was another gentleman there. Thank you all, sir. If you'll come down and give your name and city of residence, please.
Hello. Alfredo Ayala, and I also live at the 142 East Holland, which is the house right across from, on Wingren. I have two concerns. One, obviously, is traffic. The other concern is that a few years ago, it's more of a question than a concern, really. A few years ago, when TxDOT was expanding that highway, I attended several of the meetings that the neighborhood had in regards to the development. One of the concerns that I had was the traffic flow, where the speed limit, I believe, is 30, and it usually coming off the highway, on average, everybody's going 55, 60 miles an hour. So I brought it up to one of the speakers at our meeting. I said, could we have maybe a speed bump, a stop sign, a flashing light, something to slow down traffic? Because we also have a park in the neighborhood. The concern was the children, people coming and going. We have a gentleman that takes his wheelchair, crosses the highway on a wheelchair all hours of the night. The answer I got from one of the former city council members was that it was an emergency thoroughfare, that there was no way that we couldn't have a speed bump, a flashing light, stop sign, nothing. And now we're going to have an entrance that's going to slow down traffic from maybe, I believe, the corner, Holland, to the curb is maybe 550 feet or so. What changed? What changed? What changed? Is it money thrown into the city development? Life is important in that little corner. Besides all the trash, I deal with trash every day that I come home. 10, 20 pieces of trash that I pick up. That's not counting what the association picks up every 2 weeks. I can deal with the trash. People driving down the street, jumping the curb and coming down to hit my bed, the wall where I sleep. Because that happened. Somebody jumped the curb and ended up against my wall, against my bed where I sleep. Something has to change. This is not a good idea. I'm for the project like everybody else seems to be, but safety is a concern. It's a big concern. I would love to know what changed from 10 years ago when the development was coming up. There was no way they could slow down the traffic. And now you can slow down the traffic. Thanks.
Nathan, any other comments that you can share in terms of the Wingren side?
So the Wingren is considered a emergency access route, which is basically, this is how the fire department goes through and has direct access, the quickest access to get to all the different neighborhoods in that area, and also get them back to the highway so they can move them on to whether it's Baylor, Scott and White, or if they have to go into Dallas for a more serious case. On those emergency access routes, we do not allow speed bumps just because that's not conducive for ambulatory issues. So from that standpoint, what he is saying is that is correct. In terms of the evaluation of all-way stops in that area, there are federal guidelines as to when you are able to go through and install certain traffic control devices. There are traffic counts that have to be done, traffic studies that have to be done, and there are thresholds that are set by the federal government as to this is when it is appropriate for always stop control, for traffic signalization, for things of that nature. The roadway or the intersections that we have along Wingren don't get to that threshold for always stop control until you get to the Rochelle and Wingren intersection, and which is why you do have a half-mile of no always stops through that section right through there.
You've had your say, sir, so we appreciate it. And you've heard Nathan address the issues with Wingren itself. Are you wanting to speak in opposition to the case? Well, if you'll come down and give your name and city of residence, please. Are you Mr. Goldsmith?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
What does say yes?
My name is Andrew Goldsmith, and good evening. I live in 3000 Wingren Road. Everybody talking about Nicholas Park, but nobody's talking about Wingren is the entrance to University Hills. So one person brought up a wonderful point, what are you gonna do with that empty lot? Because it used to be a hotel when. Is it any way possible to the right of Wingren have a separate lane that designated for the project? So that traffic wouldn't be combined with the traffic, the usual traffic, because Wingren is not, like I said, it's an entrance to that neighborhood, but it's an entrance to the bigger neighborhood, University Hills. And if that could be a separate lane, so everybody would go to that project, go into that security, and because if it's a security gate and people are waiting to the gate to open, 2-3 people are there at the same time, it could back up to Wingren and can be chaotic. But if they had a separate lane, I don't know if there's enough room to have a separate lane, and that's my comment. I don't know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goldsmith. Nathan, would you like to address that?
We've asked TxDOT on multiple occasions. We've met with Nichols Park Neighborhood Association on multiple occasions to understand some of their concerns, make sure that we're passing those along to TxDOT. To this point, TxDOT has not been interested in bringing on a project in that area, but it's something that we continue to bring up as the locations that the city has concerns with designs that were done. This was part of the 183 project, which is not a typical design build or design bid build. This is a design build, and from that, TxDOT at times allowed the engineers and constructors to go through and have a little bit of leeway for some of the things that they did.
But I'm not talking about TxDOT. I'm talking about when the off-ramp, the side road reaches Wingren. Wingren is a city. So I'm talking about the city street Wingren. So when it turns, that's the service road, that's Wingren. So when the service road, it goes into Wingren, another entrance lane to the right of Wingren, a special designated lane for those units. So people from those units could utilize a separate Wingren, per se, a separate entrance. Does that make sense? So it has
totally
nothing to
makes
do
sense.
with the freeway. It's the off-ramp, the service road meeting Wingren. Wingren, it's a city project. And maybe the builder can incur the cost of that entrance. And part of them, because he's doing it for the good of the neighborhood, not for, to have a profit. Well, he's not going to lose money, and that would solve that problem because there wouldn't be any extra traffic on Wingren because it could have a separate lane. And it has nothing to do with TxDOT.
To the entranceway would be from this property here.
Right. Yeah, I understand, sir.
You know, it's a new and improved idea, I think. Right? There's plenty of room.
Thank you. We can't, you're not on public record when you're way up there, so, that's okay. It's just we like for people to be here and on public record.
In other words,
But I'm not sure that
there's plenty of room to the right. So
Well,
it's
if you look
an
at the
empty
if
lot.
you look
It's an empty lot. So Wingren could move over and he could build the house to the right a little bit, and the building to the right, and have a separate thoroughfare for
Sir,
his
you have 1 minute.
100
Thank you.
cars or 150 cars. It's a 55-unit, 2 garage. That's 100 cars to guests. So he could incur the cost of the project. And the city doesn't have to pay anything. In the neighbors or University Hills, Nicholas Park, there wouldn't be any added traffic to his development.
we understand.
That's the public record.
We
Okay.
understand, and we appreciate your suggestion. And we certainly heard from our traffic and transportation people about the challenges on both 183 and Wingren.
Yeah,
He's on.
Kachajian again.
Sir, unfortunately, we've already heard from you.
That property on the corner is available for sale. And Mr. Property is for sale because the gentleman's talking about putting a road to the right.
We understand, sir. We can't hear you. You're not on public record, and you've already had your opportunity to offer any comments. Thank you. I will now close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for discussion or a motion.
I have a question for Mr. Patel. And just to be clear, with all this talk about traffic, is this going to be a senior living, 55 and up development?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I didn't see anything in here about it being limited to that. Is that even possible?
No. So that was the start of our discussion with the applicant. It's not something the city can regulate.
Okay.
So that's why it's considered a low-density multifamily.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question, Mr. Patel. So I know the last plan that you had been approved, but with that plan, you had, different buildings and it was laid out differently. My concern is not having the variances laid out. So all of our cases that come before us, when you're asking us to approve variances, we know what those variances are. So we can make a valid decision about whether those variants make sense or not, whether you're going into somebody else's property or not. So my concern is the paperwork that we have this evening all says, I'm going to build toward this. but it doesn't tell me what those variances are. So I just wanted you to know that.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no other further discussions,
I'd like to express some comments, and I want to say thank you to everybody who came to talk about this case. But my concern, as I expressed in the working session, is the guest parking, given that we only have 10 parking spaces, and the traffic that we know it could cause if people start parking on Wingren. It's already, the project is great. I don't have anything against the project. I think it's a good project. It's good for the community, and it goes in there well. But I have a very hard time approving a case with 10 parking spaces for gas whenever they cannot even park on the driveways because they're condos and they're going to be, looks like fire lanes. So they're going to have the alternative to park on Wingren. And even with just the 10 parking spaces, and even adding more, I will still be concerned that the people that are on the west, correct, on the west, are going to even walk to the park on the guest parking, walk 5 acres to come visit the other whoever they are visiting, who's closer to the Wingren street. So I believe some of those guests might just park on Wingrens anyway. And that will create a bigger issue than what we have right now. So one of the ideas that I brought up was, instead of maybe converting the volleyball court into additional parking, and maybe that will add an additional 10 parking spaces to make it 20 for guest parking, and try to find a possible solution to this issue that right now we know that there's a traffic issue, and this hasn't even been built, and we don't have cars parking in there on the street yet, which they are not allowed to, but I believe they still will do it anyway.
Yes, sir.
If that's the way the P&Z likes it, I have no problem making it 20 car parking and eliminate the volleyball court.
Thank you. How does the rest of the commissioners feel about it?
if there's no further discussion, I'd like to move Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2026-155-CP to City Council for approval.
Do we have a second? This is for the land use case, not zoning. Do we have a second? Yeah, it does. So the motion fails. We need another motion for denial. If we make a new plan to remove the amenity of the volleyball court and add in parking, it's going to require a whole new concept plan, a revised concept plan, and come back in front of city P&Z again. So it would be a postponement again.
Without seeing the variance
So, April, if I understood you correctly, you're saying if we postpone, in order to do the volleyball plan parking, give you, Mr. Patel, a chance to do that, you just want to make sure that he knows that at the end of the day, if you can't tell what the variances are, you still wouldn't vote to approve, wouldn't recommend approval. So if we postpone, that would be, I think probably for others of us as well. We do want it to be clear what it is we would be approving, and that needs to be in there, one way or the other. I do agree with Commissioner Sanguino. It seems to me that there are some other ways to deal with the parking could help to resolve that issue, and the volleyball court, more parking sounds to me like makes more sense than a volleyball court. But I also think that the variances need to be in. what we would
Jocelyn,
approve.
correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to follow the concept plan, right?
Correct.
And the concept plan has been reviewed by the city staff, looked at, went over, made sure that everything's in compliance.
The one that's in your packet, but if we're going to change that, then.
Well, what has been presented to us as of today?
Yes.
Okay.
With no variances
Well,
listed.
With it not being clear what the variances are.
Correct.
That's,
So if we postpone, he's able to revise the concept plan, add the additional parking spaces, tell us what are going to be the variances, and show the easements.
yeah.
So postponing makes more sense than a motion.
Yeah, I would support that.
So if no
So-
further comment, I'd like to make a motion for.
Gerald, sorry, I just, since if we're going to look at doing that, just to be fair to Mr. Patel, I want to put on the record that I don't, with that postponement, I probably would still not support this because of the not being able to restrict to 55 and up. Even though we have more parking and maybe that reduces illegal parking on Wingren, it still sounds like there's a significant traffic issue there. And so I don't know that, and of course, we'll see what other responses to the variances are, but I still don't know that I'll support it. So I'm just going ahead and putting that out there.
I'd like to make a motion for comprehensive plan amendment 2025-155-CP for a postponement
Till when?
until next August 3rd PNC meeting
That's
To
correct.
postpone.
It's August 3rd?
to postpone.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. So, Mr. Patel, on the CP case, we're going to look for some more time with you, with P&Z staff again, to clarify the variances. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's, but the planning on the CP case, on the land use case, will deal with the parking and the changes to the concept plan on the volleyball court. So we'll take well, I guess I have to take a public hearing on case 2026-120-ZC. We've already heard from Mr. Patel on that case, in particular the zoning. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the zoning changes? Okay. Anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the zoning changes? Okay, I'll close the item, return it to the, close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for discussion or a motion.
On zoning case 2025-120, 2026, sorry, -120-ZC, I'd like to make a motion for postponement till August 3rd, next PNC meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote. And the motion to postpone carries 5-3. Next case this evening is zoning case 2026-142-ZC. And is the applicant present?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Eric Albert. I'm the GM for Toyota Music Factory. I live in Azle, Texas. The case that's been in front of you today is going to be a proposal for removal of some parking spaces to expand patio storefront in our B1 building. This sits in between our A3 and A4 buildings, which would be Bar Louie and Thirsty Lion. This is an area of the property that we are trying to lease up currently. We have secured a really phenomenal tenant for this space. This is going to be Roots Chicken Shack. It's one of the spaces. This is Tiffany Dairy's concept. She is a really well-known chef within the industry. She's a season winner and nominee of Top Chef, so we're excited to have her here in Irving and secure that for our music factory. With this expansion is creating more placemaking, and it's going to be creating a better atmosphere for that B1 area. We do intend that if approved today, that your approval would then go into those other spaces that we're proposing as well to help drive more traffic to that side of the property. I do appreciate the comments during the work session today. There has been a great deal of collaboration with Jocelyn and the P&Z team and Abraham and Chief Miller and his team to just understand vehicular traffic within that area. And so we have looked at that. The tenant is very proactive and is willing to listen to the recommendations and propose recommendations based on the city during the permitting process. So we are very confident that any concerns around vehicular traffic, that those would get addressed during that time. We have put in extensive efforts. I feel like a Ballard expert on this property because we have looked at quite a few different ways to make sure and secure the patrons of Music Factory. The one thing I would like to point out is that that area that was brought up today from the behind Bar Louie, the traffic that parks right back there that actually backs up, that was probably the biggest concern. That traffic today has not rear-ended a car. It has not ran into any of the cars that do sit vertical to those adjacent lanes that we're looking to propose to fill in with concrete. So we haven't had any vehicular accidents. We're hoping that we never have that, but the tenant is, again, willing to put in efforts based on what Chief Miller's team has put in proposal, and they will be proposing as well. So those are what we're asking with your approval today, is to help drive that traffic and create a new experience on Music Factory to get better operators and land great tenants for us here at Music Factory in Irving.
Thank you very much. Mr. Albert, if you'll just stay with us for a minute to see if you need any clarifying answers. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the item? Anyone in opposition to the item? Okay, since there's no further discussion from the floor, I'll close the item and return it to the commission for discussion or a motion.
If no further comments, I'd like to make a motion for zoning case 2026-142-CZ for recommendation for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. And it passes unanimously 8-0. Mr. Albert, thank you very much. Your case will be to the City Council on July 16th, so I know you'll be there.
Thank you so much, Commissioners.
Next case is Development Plan 2026-171-DVP. Is the applicant present? Mariah?
Applicant and owner, they both should speak.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Madhu. I live in Irving.
Do you have any comments? Were you here for the work session in the other room?
Yeah, I was there.
Any comments based on our discussion at
No
work
comments.
session?
No comments, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just bear with us. Have a seat down here in the front in case anybody has any questions for you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the item? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to the item? We did have one, excuse me, this is this gentleman, correct? Okay. We have the owner and the applicant are both saying that you are for the case, so thank you very much for filling out the forms. You're fine. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor or opposition? Okay, so we'll close the item to the floor and bring it back to the commission for discussion or a vote.
If none of my fellow commissioners have any comments or questions, I'd like to make a motion for our development plan 2026-171 DVP be forwarded to the city. For the account commission to be vote approved for the final action. Sorry.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And your case passes, final action, so we appreciate your support and your continued investment in Valley Ranch. I also happen to live in Valley Ranch, and we appreciate the condition of the property and how nicely it's maintained, and we thank you for your continued investment. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to case 2026-200-CP. This is Mr. Dewey. Welcome back. And there's a second case associated with this, 2026-173-ZC. So, Mr. Dewey, you're welcome to take these two together for 10 minutes if you'd like.
Okay, I'll do that. I'm Jim Dewey with JDJR Engineers, 2500 Texas Drive, Suite 100, here in Irving, Texas. I'm here tonight on behalf of the property owner that wants to build 4 4,500 square foot medical office buildings. The property is currently zoned for a 25 to 28,000 square foot warehouse development. We think this is far more compatible with the adjacent residential. We are asking for 2 variances. Both of them are one of them is about having a medical office within 200 feet of a residential property. But medical offices are probably one of the most compatible commercial uses that you can have adjacent to residential. It'll just be operating during normal business hours. The other variance is about having parking in front of the building. There's really, in this case, because it's an acute narrow triangle, there's really no other way of laying it out without doing that. Plus, having the parking on the other side of the building from the residential also will help screen the parking, screen the noise, and screen the cars. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you have about our request. And I respectfully request you follow the staff recommendation and recommend approval.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in support of this item? Anyone in opposition to the item? Okay, I'll close the item to the floor, return it to the commission for further discussion or a motion.
If there's no further discussion amongst the commissioners, I'd like to move Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2026-200-CP to City Council for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 7-1. Mr. Dewey, so we appreciate it. We'll now move on to the companion case 2026-173-ZC. Mr. Dewey, anything further to add on the zoning case? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the item? Anyone in opposition to the item? All right, I will close the item to the floor and bring it back to the commission for discussion or motion.
If there's no further discussion amongst the commissioners, I'd like to move zoning case 2026-173-ZC to City Council for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And it passes 8-0. City Council will see you on July 30th, sir. We have one case, 2026-175-ZC. Is the applicant present? Okay, Ms. Medina. Thank you very much. We discussed your case during work session.
This is Miss Medina, sorry, wrong one. I'm a resident, but I don't,
Okay,
the other Medina,
okay, oh,
right?
two Medinas, yes. Margarita Medina. You're Margarita Medina. Okay, thank you. We heard your case in work session. Is there anything you'd like to add to what we heard in work session?
No, she'd like to request approval.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the item? Did you have any? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Pam Medina. I live off of West Fifth Street. I've been there for 43 years. I've been in Irving for 74. The neighborhood I live in now used to be 4th and 5th Street. Mayor Brown lived on that street, and the wealthy lived on that street. When we moved in, it was beautiful. The homes were well kept. The yards were well kept, but that's not so. Ms. Hack, you mentioned how wonderful it is to live in the area you do. I used to be that way. Now it's an eyesore. The coding does not live up to their word about dealing with this street, or even 4th Street. You have trash everywhere. No one picks their trash up. It's left. There's a street that I used to walk down, my own street, and that home is an eyesore. And I was threatened the last time I walked down that street, which was 2 weeks ago, so I don't even walk the dog down there anymore. There are cars more than what the ordinance allows, which is greater than 6. People have figured out if they come after dark, nobody's going to check up on that street. If this is passed, which short-term rental in a residential street, there's no use for it there. It's not like we live at the coast. So I'm going to ask that this not happen, at least on 5th Street or 4th Street. Thank you.
I'd like to clarify that this case has nothing to do with the short-term rentals. This case has to do with using this facility, the building, for a personal care services business.
Okay,
It
so
does
the
not
card.
have anything to do with short-term rentals.
Okay, so the card I received indicated that this would be short-term rentals and a residential.
That will be the next case that we discuss.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. Happy to clarify it for you. So is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to the item? I'll close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for further discussion or a vote. A motion, pardon me.
If none of the fellow commissioners have any other comments or questions, I'd like to make a motion for zoning case 2026-175-ZC be forwarded to City Council for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Please vote. Who's blinking? Whoever's blinking. And the motion carries 8-0 for approval. And your case will be heard on July 3rd for a final vote by City Council. So you'll want to be there for the final vote in case they have any questions for you. So thank you all very much. We appreciate your patience this evening. I'm guessing the rest of you are here for the last case of the evening, which is our ordinance amendment 2026-160-UDC, which relates to the short-term rental by conditional use permit. So there's a lot of you here this evening, and you all have the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes each. If for some reason you represent a portion of your neighborhood, or you are hearing some of your fellow residents say the same thing, you do not have to get up and speak. We did see that you signed in, and so whatever you said on your card to either speak or not speak, and whether you approve of the changes or disapprove of the changes, that will be part of the public record. So we have 7 people who did sign up to speak, so we'll call those first in order. We'll call down. We'll call the folks in favor of the ordinance amendment first. Bao Duong, D-U-O-N-G. Yes, sir. If you'll come down and tell us your name and city of residence. Is there anybody else for?
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk. Okay, my name is Bao Dong. I live in the city of Irving. Okay, and I don't vote for. Please change that. Okay, maybe something on my form that I didn't fill out correctly. I am against the short-term rental. Okay, and that's very important. And here's the reason I come up here. Because I want to give you the reason why I'm against it, okay? Because the house across where I live, about 2 years ago, I know the owner. He's a very nice guy. We still good friend, okay? But for some reason, he moved to a different house, and he turned his house into a short-term rental. I didn't have any problem with that at first. Okay, until last year, okay, around October, okay, there's a police record definitely there if you want to refer back to my story, okay? So one night, what I heard is the house has been very quiet, and I don't have any problem. I don't pay attention. I know that there's some people come and go, okay. But one night, last October, there was a naked girl running in front of that house, and not me, but another neighbor called the police, and the police came over, and the next thing we know, the whole neighborhood was swarmed with more than 10 police cars. So that's why I know that there's definitely is a police record about this incident, okay? And the next thing I know that each police car, they take out 2 or 3 handcuffed folks and put in each car. Definitely a big event, okay? And there were about, I heard more than 10 of them, and they all have handcuffed people in, okay? And the next day, the reason I noticed, because next day I noticed there are some very young people, okay? And they doesn't look like white Caucasian people, okay, by the way. And they look young, they look very rough. Some of them standing in front and of the yard, and they talk, and they are very scary people to me, okay, young. And that's why I talked to my neighbor and I find out what happened the night before, okay? And I heard that we have a lot of undocumented people that cross over our border, okay? And the people who live there, they fear for their life because they are undocumented. So even they left behind DNA fingerprint, the police never be able to trace them. And they are desperate, okay? For a few dollars, they can kill you, okay? For a bag of food, they can do something and run away, and the police never be able to trace them out if they ran away. And now I thought that's something that I don't have to worry about. I just read about it. But now I had to face it right in front of my house. I'm fearful. I'm feared for my life now, okay? Because someday I do hear loud noise, the gun.
Sir, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, okay. And since then, I realized that a lot of strangers come and go. That's how the owner, he never checked on us. I talked to the owner about the incident. He said he checked on credit card, good people, and he let them leave. But he never been there checking on people. So since then, I feel very unsafe. I don't go out to my yard anymore. I got some flower, some fruit trees. I used to enjoy to go out there and enjoy that. But now my wife, my son, and me, we don't go on the front yard anymore. And I'm afraid that some of these days there would a stray bullet that go through the window of my living room and hit me. It's not like, please cut this, okay? Let the people who in the hotel business and let them. We don't need to turn resident house into
Your time is over.
Thank you
Mr.
very much
Dwan.
for your time.
Yes, I'd like to just take a pause a moment and have Jocelyn Murphy, who is our Director of Planning, explain to all of you the changes to the short-term rental ordinance and the fact that this will give the city more control over short-term rentals for more protection of property and neighborhoods. So Jocelyn, if you'll just clarify a little bit of the registration process and the actual ordinance changes.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. It might help to give a little understanding about what the proposal is. We tried to be as clear as we could on the postcards. It's obviously a very small amount of words. Currently, today, short-term rentals are allowed by right as long as people register with the city. So the Code Compliance Department, we have our code director here if there's any questions, operates our registration. They have to tell us who's controlling the site, who the emergency contact is, all the operations of the site, have to make sure all that is posted. So we have a set of registration requirements that have been progressively getting more and more tight. Now we have some more parking requirements, so we're addressing those on an operational basis. This is something the City Council has asked us to do, is add a zoning component to it. So a conditional use permit, if someone wants to operate a new short-term rental, or if they have one and it stops and they want to start again and they've essentially lost their legal use and they want to restart, it triggers the zoning process. So the conditional use permit, they submit it to us through the application. It goes through the Planning and Zoning Commission for a recommendation, and it goes to the City Council for approval. We put a notice in the Rambler, in the newspaper. We send out notices to the property owners within 200 feet, and that's the value of the conditional use permit. That's the value of the zoning process of those of y'all who've kind of watched here tonight, is the people who are going to be in the immediate area and are affected by it get the chance to be noticed. It's at least 10 days. We actually send ours out a couple weeks before. So you have an opportunity to tell us either by email or on paper, or if you want to come to the hearings, but that's why the public hearing process is so valuable, and the conditional use permit provides for that. So this is actually adding an additional level of kind of scrutiny, of consideration that includes the neighbors in the immediate area and anybody else who wants to give some input. So we're instead of being by right with registration, now would be with the conditional use permit by registration. Now, if there are short-term rentals currently in operation, those can continue in operation as long as they keep the registration current, they follow the regulation, the rules of the regulations, code compliance, they don't have trash on, everywhere, their parking is kept in good standing. There are processes for revoking the registration. There's processes for revoking the conditional use permit if somebody doesn't behave or doesn't conduct their business very well. But again, this is intended to add another layer. So we're not trying to encourage short-term rentals. We're trying to make sure that everybody is part of the process of considering, is this a good location for short-term rental on a case-by-case basis. So I hope that answers your questions. If y'all have more questions of me, of our code director, or of the commission, absolutely please feel free, but we wanted to provide that background as to what we're doing and why.
I'd like to add a couple of other comments to this. The registration process is pretty significant, and two things that I think are helpful to the process is we have to have if the owner of the short-term rental is not in the immediate area, he has to assign an agent who lives within 1 hour of the property so that the agent can be present when there are complaints, concerns about a neighborhood or an unusual incident that occurs where police is called. The second thing I'd like to also emphasize about the registration process is there is a density cap. So our registration process only allows for 10% of the residents within a block of houses can become short-term rentals. So if if there's one house on there and the second application for short-term rental exceeds that 10% block, then that applicant will be denied the opportunity to turn that home into a short-term rental. So these are some of the things, the ordinance doesn't address that. The registration process does. So if you'd like to understand the registration process, please, by all means, reach out to the planning department to understand what that is. The condition, you have an expense to register your house, and then as a short-term rental, and then there is also another added expense of $850 to apply for the conditional use permit. So there is a financial investment to making sure that we know who you are, where you live, and if there are issues, we know how to reach you in the event of this, of problems. So this ordinance and the changes to require the conditional use permit only provide more control for city council to be able to ensure that if there's any bad actors out there, that they can handle and revoke that conditional use permit.
Can I ask a question to what Ms. Murphy stated?
When it's your opportunity to speak, you may ask that question. So I hope that answers a lot of the questions about why you're here this evening and provides you with some level of confidence that this ordinance is a good thing. We want you to be for it, not against it. We did have 3 other people who signed up to speak this evening officially. Gretchen Brausch, are you present? Brausch? Okay, that's in opposition. She obviously didn't stay. Mr. Rhett Tucker, would you like to come down and speak for a few minutes? Thank you.
My name is Rhett Tucker, Guadalajara Court here in Irving, Texas. And so you said you hoped you answered a lot of questions, but you gave me more and more and more. So can I name names and addresses and specifics about anything, or do you rather just keep it generic?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm here because our inspector can't handle the situation. I mean, it's just beyond. Sure, I thought there was a question there from the chairman. But anyway, it's not happening. It's not getting done for short-term rentals as far as trash. We'll just talk about trash. Whether this individual is registered or not, I don't know, the owner of the property, but there is no real-time ability to enforce anything. It's not happening. We have an evidence trail. So I guess I would have to say I'm unilaterally opposed to all of this until you can get it fixed from the very basics. Parking, right, you have real-time enforcement. Somebody's in your space, they're incorrectly parked, you can enforce it. But if there's trash all over the street or the how in the front yard, as Ms. Medina said, there's nothing, currently the city, there's no hotline, nothing's going to happen. It's not happening. So I don't know if that's fair to say I'm unilaterally opposed until you kind of get it fixed from the ground up. But so, and there's another, and I actually thought this was what we were coming here to talk about. They've broken down, more than Airbnb now, there's a thing called Roomster, right? You can sublet the rooms out, apparently. And I think that's what we've got a problem with, but in the real estate we own, or next to the real estate we own. So, again, trash, so there's no dumpster, there's no, the trash trucks that can pick up so they don't have the tenants, if they're checking out, they just put it outside, and then the cats or whatever get in it, and it's pretty ugly. So I think I'm going to quit. I think I made my point. But is that fair? Can I ask a question? Is that fair to say I'm unilaterally opposed until we get the basics right on this? Is that I know you're trying to restrict it, but it also looks like each paragraph is a different, other than the last line, it looks like where we should start. Definitions or rules for short-term rentals. But anyway, I'm going to quit. But back to the registration, owner on hand or within an hour. I just don't think that's happening. There's no real-time ability to complain or get anything fixed that I've seen with this property next to ours. So thank you for listening, and I appreciate being here.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Assuming that some of you have some of the same complaints, Nathan, may I ask you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit? I mean, Shane, I apologize.
That's all right. I knew who you're talking to. Everybody, my name is Shane Diller. I'm the Code Enforcement Director, and my department oversees the current short-term rental registration program. So just to recap briefly, right now the code requires that if you operate a short-term rental in the city, meaning that you rent the property or a room in the property or a portion thereof for less than 30 days, you have to register with the city. And then my multifamily housing, the housing inspectors who inspect apartments are the same team that would respond to complaints regarding short-term rentals. And so, at the end of this meeting, if any of you have specific addresses that you want to let me know about, I would very much like to take them back to the team and look into that. B, you can always report them through the city's report of concern system. That's 24 hours a day. They do not have to be daytime issues. For instance, right now I have 5 people in the field doing patrols. Some of those properties specifically are short-term rentals that are being looked at. So we do have evening people, we have weekend people. It's something but we do need to know what you're seeing and where you're seeing it at so that we can make sure that we're checking into that and then can connect directly with you in regards to what we might be missing. And that sort of thing. But the proposal before you this evening, whereas right now anybody in any property in the city can register with my department, and they're not restricted unless they have a couple of conditions, that 10% per block face, or if they don't have adequate parking. If they meet those conditions, we're obligated to give them a short-term rental registration. The proposal before the Planning Commission this evening would restrict that so that we would not be able to give them a short-term rental registration in a single-family dwelling unless they came before the Planning Commission and then ultimately the City Council and received specific approval to do that. So the proposal this evening is a much tighter restriction on short-term rentals than we currently have on the books. So again, I'll be here at the end of the meeting and we'll stick around to make notes and to talk about any specific properties you've got or cases that you've reported that haven't been successfully resolved, and we'll see what we can do about that.
Thank you. Stay tuned. Pamela Medina signed up to speak. Yes, ma'am. You did speak earlier, so we'd like to maybe limit your time a little bit since you spoke earlier.
Ms. Murphy, you mentioned about the rentals and applicants and so forth, and that sounds great on paper, but the places that I'm speaking of, which is more than one home, they rent out rooms, and they're not registered with you. So how do you propose making sure everybody is on the same page, since it's not being done at this point? And I have reported this place many years ago, and it's only gotten worse rather than better. So I know it's not working.
Yeah, Shane?
Madam Chairman. Every property that rents out rooms isn't necessarily short-term rental. They have to be renting for less than 30 days. If they're renting for longer than 30 days, they may be what we call a rooming house or boarding house. And there's different zoning regulations that come into account there. And there are a number of those in the city that are legal non-conforming or have been reviewed in the past and been determined that they comply with zoning, the way the zoning was adopted at the time they began operating. So what I want to do in that situation there is, again, go address specific. If you've got a property on your street that's renting out rooms, I want to know what the address is so that the person we have investigating those things can look into that and determine what the circumstances are there. But I don't want anybody to confuse that anything that's advertised on the internet for rent, on a pad split or something like that, qualifies as a short-term rental. Only if they're registering, or only if they're renting for less than 30 days are they a short-term rental. If they're longer than 30 days, then they just have to comply with the current standards of our zoning code. And many rooming houses and boarding houses, the way the code is currently adopted, are not permitted in the residential zone already, and we just approach that as a straight zoning case. And then, like I said, there's a number of them in the city that came along before the current ordinances were in place or were reviewed by legal in the past and determined that they are what we call legal nonconforming or grandfathered, if you will, into the current environment. So we have to wait to watch them to shut down and then apply the current zoning to them if they change ownership or close in that situation. So I'd very much like to get some addresses or streets from you, Ms. Medina, when we wrap up here so that I can look into that.
Shane, would you mind giving
Yes, ma'am.
everybody a email address to your office so that if they can't catch you this evening, they can email the addresses for the concerns?
The two best ways to get a hold of us are the report a concern system on the city's website or code complaints at irvingtx.gov. And that goes to our admin staff who process complaints pretty much all day long. And then get those complaints the same day to one of the code enforcement officers or one of the housing inspectors.
Thank you. We have two other people who signed up. Three other people who signed up to speak this evening that did not express their opinion, yes or no, in support of the case. We have Neil Coward. Is he here? Mr. Coward, would you like anything to add?
Not really, because I really didn't understand the issue. This has clarified it for me. I'm for at least running.
Yeah, why don't you, just to be sure? Thank you. And if Mr. Shavitz is here, Ron Shavitz, if you'll just stand there patiently and for a minute or two after Mr. Coward's finished, we'll call you down.
I'm Neil Coward. I've been an Irving resident since 1979. From what I've heard here, I think we do need to rein this in, these short-term rentals. I'm familiar with some of this, of what's going on, and I'm glad to hear that Irving is taking a step forward to deal with this. And I'm glad to hear about ways that we can report situations. I mean, I want everybody to have a place to live, but guys, you got to live decently and not degrading, I'm going to use the term running over people, not physically with a car, but just doing whatever they want to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Coward. Mr. Shavitz? Okay, thank you. And Sandra Parker, if you're in the audience and would like to speak, you're welcome to come down. Mr. Shavitz.
Hi, my name is Ron Chaffetz. I'm a resident of Arlington, but I owned a house. I bought a house in South Irving in 1984, and I lived there for 8 years, and then I rented it out for 33 years as long-term rentals. I've heard a few horror stories about short-term rentals, but I could easily share you some long-term rental horror stories too. It's not just with short-term rentals, just want to note that. I owned that house for 41 years. I deeded it to my daughter and my son-in-law. So they took it over, and their investment was to make it a short-term rental and lease it out through Airbnb. They spent over $50,000 working this, and they even needed some help, so I helped them financially with this. We've heard horror stories about short-term rentals. What you don't hear is the wonderful stories of many, many good people. We had probably over 100,000 people from out of the country come in for the World Cup, and many of them used Airbnb and other short-term rentals. And I don't hear a word about the wonderful experiences that many of these people had, and that needs to be emphasized. My daughter and son-in-law have put most of their savings, so I had to help them. But, they've invested, and and there'll be other events coming into this area too, not just the World Cup, there'll be many more. And this can be a dream come true for them, but if the short-term rental is stopped, then they have to go with a long-term rental. And like I said, I could share you a few horror stories with that too. So I appreciate your listening to me, and I thank you for allowing me time to come speak. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Ms. Parker, would you like to come down and speak? Anything new to add? I do not see Ms. Parker here. All right. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the item? Yes, ma'am? No, you do not? Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the item? Yes, ma'am? Would you like to come down and speak? If you'll give your name and city of residence, please.
Good evening. My name is Yolanda Roa. I live in 8119 Persimmon Street. I've been in Irving since 2007, and I started on 2018 my Airbnb. I want to share why allowing Airbnb, especially room rentals, is so important, not just for me, but many families like mine. After my divorce in 2017, hosting rooms through Airbnb gave me a way to support myself and continue providing for my family. It wasn't just extra income. It became a lifeline during one of the most difficult times in my life. Many homeowners use room rentals not as large commercial business, but as a way to make ends meet while responsibly using the homes they already live in. And I emphasize very much that responsibly, and I do appreciate very much your restrictions, because it is important. My priority is safety and comfort of my guests and my community. They were my neighbors before they were my guests, and I have, thanks God, a very good relationship with my neighbors, and I make sure that I listen to them. They have my phone number. If there is anything that they see that is not safe or uncomfortable, anything, they immediately call me, and I live within minutes from the property. One of the things that makes Airbnb unique is its accountability. Hosts and guests review each other after every stay, creating a system built on trust and respect. Before accepting a reservation, I carefully review each guest's profile and previous reviews. Guests know they are expected to follow the house rules, respect the neighborhood, and behave responsibly. I take that responsibility seriously. I clearly communicate my house rules before checking in and throughout each guest stays. If a guest violates those rules or disrupts the community, I do not hesitate to ask them to leave and report the incident to Airbnb. Airbnb also has a dedicated safety team available 24 hours, 7 days a week to help host and guests address concerns quickly. Hosting rooms also benefits travelers. Instead of paying high hotels prices, guests can stay in comfortable homes at a lower cost. They have access to a kitchen where they can prepare their own meals, complimentary laundry facilities for longer stays, and a more personal experience that hotels often cannot provide. Responsible home sharing creates opportunities for homeowners, affordable options for travelers, and economic benefits for our local community. Rather than prohibiting room rentals, I encourage you to support reasonable regulations which you are already working on, and I really appreciate that for the safety of all. I also would like to add, as Mr. Chavez said, there are horror stories in both, even in our homes sometimes, because there is all kind of people. And personally, I tried renting us a whole house. That has more chances of having situations in which they come and party or younger people come in. And me, as a host, I have no access to the house to go and check if this is true. However, when I rent room to room, I always have access to the house. I can go check if someone is smoking or drinking or using drugs or anything that it will be unsafe.
Ma'am, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yolanda. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the ordinance change? Yes, sir. Please come down with your name and city of residence.
Yes, my name is Kurt Gonzalez, and I live in Irving. I'm assuming when you say in favor of the ordinance. And I am very much. I did not know what this was about, but I did see that there was a meeting on short-term rentals, so I wanted to come and find out. I am in favor of strengthening the compliance that's needed. I'm particularly concerned about the number of rentals. I live on the Lake Velbeg, and we have a series of houses on my street, which is Bayview. I think there's maybe 7, 8 houses, and 3 of them are short-term rentals. I think there's other ones that are considering. I am concerned that my whole street, and I understand why, it's very beautiful to see the lake, and it makes perfect for short-term rentals. But I am a little concerned that my entire street may eventually become nothing but short-term rentals. I will say that I've been blessed in that the people that own the property have done a very good job of maintaining, of putting good people in, and we haven't had any problems. I mean, sometimes there's too much noise and stuff like that, but I don't really worry about it. It's on Fridays, Saturdays, and I figure, okay, they're young people, they're partying. It's not keeping me awake. I can just put the fan on and drown out the noise. So, like I said, I haven't had a problem, but I am concerned about the amount of short-term rentals. So I am totally in favor of this amendment and being able to put some rules and some conditions on the short-term rental so that my neighborhood doesn't become all a bunch of renters. I know we have a bit of a problem with that when we have our home association, in that we don't have enough people to make quorum a lot of times because many of the houses are owned by people that have decided to rent their homes out. And so, you know, we have 50 homes and there's only 10 people that, you know, actually own the homes. The rest of them are renters, so they never come to our meetings. So again, I'm in favor of anything that we can help control this and make it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the amendment change? I thought you were speaking in opposition.
I am in favor of making a strong statement that we don't need everything, need all the short-term rental. Does that work?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Name and
I am
city
just
presence.
Linda Jones. I live at 405 Nottingham Drive in Sherwood Forest. I've lived here all my life. We recently had a house go up for sale across the street from my house, and it was for sale by owner, and so there was no realtor or anything involved. The person that bought it had every intention when he bought it to turn it into short-term rental or the boarding house or whatever. So at that point, very quickly, I noticed there's a lot of work going over there on at night, and I'm calling the city to see if they have a permit. No, they don't. They don't have a permit. So we watch and we wait. It turns out that they work really hard at night getting things fixed the way they want the house fixed, which was to gut it and put in what was 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, turns in very shortly to be 10 bedrooms, 3 baths, no common area, a kitchen, and a laundry room. They advertise it, and they start renting out their bedrooms. Still no permits whatsoever. That's where it's really tricky, these people coming in and doing it knowing they're not following the laws. Whenever they come in, they get their people. He's getting these 10 bedrooms rented out for $800 a month per bedroom. If you're in bedroom number 1, you have cabinet number 1 in the kitchen. If you're in bedroom number 2, you have cabinet number 2. No one takes any respect for the neighborhood. We have trash everywhere. I go over with my rubber gloves on and pick up the trash out of the yard after trash day when the animals have torn up the trash. Then I didn't think about all the traffic. You got 10 cars, someplace to park them. This house does not have parking for 10 cars, but somehow or another we're making it work. Because several people don't have cars, so we have Ubers that pick them up for work, Ubers that bring them home, friends from work who come and pick them up, friends from work who bring them home, DoorDash, grocery delivery, and Amazon out the gazoo. It has changed our neighborhood completely. He knew what he was doing. He did not pull permits. There should be no question that that should be shut down immediately. But we're going through this process of tightening the reins. I hope it works. The unknown people in this neighborhood now, there's 10 people. Right now, men and 1 woman. We don't know who they are. They're nice. There's no problem. But would you let your children out to ride their bikes and take a walk, take the dog out, or anything else when you know no one except the 10 strange adults in that house? It's scary. It really is. So many things happen so fast. And unfortunately, they usually wait until code enforcement, if they're there,
Ma'am,
which
you
they
have
have
1
been
minute.
very helpful, they run down, they come, they take care of the problem, and then before that truck can get to the end of the street, they're doing whatever they want to do again. Thank you for caring and trying to strengthen the law.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Anyone else who'd like to speak? Please come down, sir.
Jerry Minner, Gill Court, Irving, Texas, resident 63 years. We have the same thing that this lady just spoke about. It's been going on close to a year and a half, somewhere between a year and a half, 2 years. It's 9 rooms with a keypad to get into each individual room with twin beds, and it's not double beds. The gentleman that spoke, you know about it. It's on Gill Court. You hear about it. You've heard about it for years. The only difference that we've had, we have the trash. There was no registering. There was no permits. This house was gutted. The same thing the lady that just spoke. It's gutted. It's put together completely 100% done before the city even knew about it. And then when we do find out about it, they're not shut down. I just can't figure out how this is legal. The only thing different from our house to the lady that just was up here, in 6 months' time, they pulled 2 dead bodies out. The police have been there the last 2 Sundays, I know, for over an hour each time. I'm gonna point you out, but what is gonna stop it? Okay, I've been here for 63 years. I'm basically talking for my neighbors. Me and my wife, we're gonna throw the towel in. I can't take it anymore. It's at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's hot. During the day, we're out there in our hoodies smoking dope. That's it. That's what we live. That's what we look out our front door and see every day. And so, y'all win. We're gonna pack up and get out. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Be sure you provide Shane with the address. Oh, thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak this evening? Thank you all very much for coming out and listening. We hope you've learned. Yes, sir? Would you like to come down and speak? You're doing fine.
My name's Roy Nauber. I live at 1525 Atlanta Drive in Irving, and we lived there for a long time, long time. Anyway, I've been married for 67 years to the same wife, and we get along fine, but she's afraid to answer the door anymore. Turns out there's one of these short-term rentals across the street from us. We came to the Early City Council about a year ago, and we complained about it. And they said, well, maybe they have to go to the state. I don't know who the Planning and Zoning Commission is, and I didn't know. We have a representative in our neighborhood that should have been here, but he's out of town this week. I found out this morning that he wasn't coming. So I said, well, I had talked to the Irving engineer in planning and zoning a while back, because there's a lot that has been going on. The city put a nice little sign in front of this about it's being reevaluated for zoning. The first thing, that lasted about a day or two, and whoever owned that short-term rental, they tore the sign down. And the next door neighbor that I know, he's been accosted by these people. He complained to the city about it, and nothing happens. No policemen were sent out. Nobody ever came in to put that sign back up. There's a few other things. I didn't know this until this morning, that he was not going to be here. And he was going to do the talking. But there are several other things that I wanted to talk about. But this particular issue is one of the hot items that we were talking about. There's another thing in here that I don't know who the Planning and Zoning Commission is, how many engineers you have on it, and what their experience is with engineering. That was my whole life. I talked to the city engineer and showed him information that I had, because there's a much larger issue at stake other than the short-term rental thing. That's bad enough. But there's something that the Planning and Zoning Commission, Perry, and the city engineer wasn't too sure about this either. There's a very strong danger in our neighborhood with the pipeline that goes through my backyard. Are you familiar with that?
No, sir, but as much as I'd like...
This I have to tell you, because I've had the pipeline company come out and looked at all the violations that the city is doing. I got a building permit to put a workshop on my property. This is about 19 years ago, and found out that this pipeline has a 30-foot easement across my backyard. Now, this is what feeds all of DFW Airport aviation, the jet fuel. It's got an 8-inch line, and they ship, you know how much aviation, or the...
fuel?
Yes, 2.5 million gallons every day. In that one line. It was put there in 1940. The pipeline company says, well, we manage it well, you know. We got safeties in there
Sir, you
that
have
we
1
can
minute
shut it
left.
down. But as an engineer, I know something that's been there 40 years without change and dug up, that there's no way they can possibly monitor it well enough to know when it's going to fail. When it does fail, it's going to kill many, many people. The gas line that they had in Dallas just recently that killed several people because someone was drilling for a foundation.
Yeah, but would that be...
That's what the Dallas Morning News had. If you read the newspaper, you know, you're aware of all this. They hit a gas line, it blew up. It wasn't the feeder line that goes to the houses, it's the high pressure gas. Now this is just regular gas, not aviation fuel. Okay.
Thank you, sir. You've reached the end of your time.
Okay.
So
now-
we do appreciate it. This body, the purview of this body does not deal with pipelines.
Well,
so
this is what the problem is.
Yes, sir, you've exceeded your time, and we're here for everybody to have an opportunity to speak if they
The
want to see it.
zoning and the people are not aware of the dangers that they have.
I understand. Do you know who your city council representative is?
No.
No. Okay. What is your address, sir? Well, at the end of this
Yeah,
meeting,
yeah,
at the end of this
yeah,
meeting, if you'll
okay.
come see me, we'll figure out
Yeah,
who your
anyway.
city council. Roy, I'm very sorry, but you've exceeded your time. Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate and value your feedback and the concerns you have about a pipeline, but that is not our responsibilities. All right. So afterwards, if you'll see me, we'll figure out who your city council is, and I will introduce you to that person. Thank you very much. You're no longer on public record, sir. The microphone has been turned off. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else who'd like to speak this evening? You waited patiently. Thank you, sir.
My name is Carl Spiller. I've been here since in Irving since 1999. I acquired a property next door to me, 2015, somewhere in there. It's taken me 3 years to get it fixed up to be a short-term rental. All the property that I've ever had before, long-term rentals, it was nothing but misery. Nobody seemed to want to pay. I mean, it was just crazy, and I didn't want to ever do that again. So that's why I decided to do a short-term rental. I just finished the process. There's some restrictions in there that I kind of disagree with, but I can't argue with them. and I passed, and I've got my short-term rental license now. I don't anticipate any problems. The problems I have is across the street, a 3-2 that's got 6 adults in it, and they all 6 have cars, and they're all parked on my street. Anyway, I just want to know, I'm not sure what these rental by conditional use permit, is that what we're talking about, the restrictions that I've already been through?
Actually, since you've already applied, you will not be under the conditional use permit requirement today. You are legally non-conforming. In other words, you are grandfathered with your short-term rental. So you do not have to apply for the conditional use permit.
Is there anything I need to know about next year?
If you decide not to register again, but then re-register in the future, yes, you will have to register and you will be under the conditional use permit requirements at that time.
Okay. All right.
So
Thank you.
all you need to be concerned about today is the short-term registration process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else this evening? All right, I will close it, the item to the floor, return it to the commission for any further discussion, comments, a motion.
If there's no further comments amongst the commissioners, I'd like to move ordinance amendment 2026-160-UDC, short-term rental by conditional use permit to City Council for approval.
We have a motion and a second, please vote. And the motion carries 5-3 to include the 2026-160-UDC short-term rental by conditional use permit. That will be discussed by City Council on July 30th. So you all have another chance to speak or listen to what the City Council has to say. Thank you all very much. Our meeting is concluded tonight at 9:06 p.m.
Ladies and gentlemen, while I still have the microphone, if you want to report a new address that you have not reported to code enforcement before that might have a rooming house, a short-term rental, a problem of some other kind, Inspector Alex Ramirez is ready to take those addresses there in the back in the tan shirt. If you have reported an address to code enforcement and feel like nothing got done or the case got dropped or something needs to be addressed there, Supervisor Blake Peoples in the black shirt in the back is ready to take those addresses and make sure we connect with you there. And I'm ready to talk about the ordinance, the regulations, anything that related to that. I'll talk about that stuff and they'll talk about the other stuff. That way we kind of divide and conquer and everybody can get out of here before too awful long. Thank you.